Football FRIYAY. Exciting times. We're back on a Friday. We're going through all the football games like we always do. It's good stuff. I just got done recording a podcast with my dad for the Link podcast. If you haven't been following that, you should be. At the Link_podcast, available on Spotify and Apple Pods and all that kind of stuff. I talk all my non-sports stuff there, and we're doing a review of the Beatles documentary that came out, the Peter Jackson one on Disney+, Get Back. It was really, really good. That'll come out on Monday, so check out for that. Autoplay, baby. In the background or on the screen, it annoys me in any capacity. Yesterday's picks, half good, half not good. We've been treading water pretty much this week, but we crushed on Monday, so we're still up for the week. No worries. And football stayed hot because we had the Vikings. So easy. We'll talk about that one. I'll dive into the box score a little bit before we get to the other ones. And Lakers, we couldn't pull through on. I mean, what do we do with that? Yikes. That's an L. And I thought the parlay would have been good, but wasn't. Football stays hot, though, and we flipped. We were scorching hot on basketball when football was struggling. Now we've gone completely the other way. But like I said, good news is we're still up on the week. Football's here to save us. I want to dive in quickly because I got a six-pack of picks. And we're going to hit them all. I'm confident. I want that broom to come back out, man. We crushed on Monday. The Friday before we were good. We've been up and down. We haven't had any real losing days. We've at least gotten halfway there most of the time. So I like that. Quickly, I wanted to touch on the fact that Demaryius Thomas died. Really heartbreaking. 33 years old. That's just a sobering one to figure out. He could have easily been in the league. It's actually wild that he retired so early. Played for the Jets toward the end of his career. Glowing reviews of him from all his teammates. Just seemed like a really good guy, and this seems like an absolute bummer. So it's important to remember when these guys are playing this game that we want to break down and get mad at, that a lot like last week with the Trenton Cannon injury, it's just a lot of sobering stuff happens in football and reminds you to just try to enjoy it. So I won't get as mad, and it's easy not to get as mad when the Vikings dominate. We'll get into that box score in 1 second. If you didn't catch yesterday's show, UFC 269 breakdown, picks for all the different fights and combinations and undercard and main event. I had a lot of stuff in there, 3 different picks. It's at the end of the show. You can catch it on twitch.tv/MikeTheMush or search MikeTheMush on YouTube. And like I mentioned yesterday, the schedule might be changing a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing. I don't know if we'll be doing every single weekday. Maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Maybe Monday, Friday. I don't know if I want to do live or just pre-prepared videos on specific topics. I'm thinking about playing with things a little bit. If you have recommendations, hit me up at MikeMush Sports. Let me know what you think. But either way, we will be here breaking down games, talking about picks. And on that note, let's get into it. Because the Lakers are a disappointment to everybody. And I knew this already, but this one is weird for a couple different reasons. For one, the Grizzlies don't have Ja Morant, and they've just been ripping off wins since they haven't had him. It's weird. They lose to the Mavs, but they beat the Mavs again. They split with the Mavs. They beat the Heat. They beat the Lakers. They'll crush the Rockets tomorrow. Ewing theory, it's in play. I don't know why, because Ja has a crazy usage rate, and they go through him a ton. And then all of a sudden, Jaren Jackson is just dominating. I can't figure out why the Lakers can't win games. I really can't. I know they turn the ball over, they play no defense, and Davis can't shoot, so I do know why. But even so, you know, I like Desmond Bane as much as the next guy, but when he and Jaren Jackson, who I don't really love, are crushing you in a two-man game when you have LeBron and Anthony Davis, it's like, yikes. I think we're at the point where, I mean, Westbrook didn't play well in this one, obviously. And that's a huge difference. But even you look around after those three, even if you include Westbrook as a 50-50, and it's like Bradley, Horton Tucker, Melo's had a pretty good year, but Dwight, Ellington, Monk, there's nobody here. These are just guys. So do they shake it up? Can they shake it up? Is there anything they can do? Or is this just a matter of, we got to wait another year till Bron can leave LA and go be a role player with Bronny when he comes into the league? Because I don't want to say this thing's over, but the idea of them as a title contender seems pretty dead. Davis can't shoot the ball, and it's not getting better. He just can't shoot it. You look at the numbers at the end, you're like 22, 8, shot 50%. What's the problem? It's like, well, he goes 1 for 4 from 3 anytime he shoots the threes, which makes him one of the worst three-point shooters for any kind of volume in the NBA. His jump shooting is one of the worst in the NBA. LeBron has a triple-double with 4 steals and 2 blocks, and they can't get it done. He can't shoot it either from 3 right now. And Westbrook's is a nightmare, and then it's just role players. You're like, oh yeah, that's how you lose. At least the Grizzlies have role players that fit their role. Like Steven Adams is going to rebound the basketball. Are we comparing him to Dwight Howard? Because Steven Adams is better than Dwight Howard. But it is admittedly bizarre that this game wasn't even competitive. So the Lakers are on my stay away list now. I learned my lesson. It's fine. We did nail the Vikings, though. I knew this was going to be fine. So easy. I mean, Pittsburgh had negative yardage late in the first half as a team. They're bad. Ben is bad. Cook was back. He looked great. Kendrick's back. Anthony Barr back. Pretty easy, but you can never underestimate the Vikings' ability to blow a football game, and they tried their darndest. Thankfully, Dalvin heals like Goku in a time chamber, so we don't have to worry about that. Give me whatever drugs that guy has. One of the last plays, Ben tried so hard to throw a pick into double coverage, and the Vikings players collided and dropped it, so that's just Vikings things for you. But it did get a little dicey. It got to 1 score and then a punt. So they had the ball down 8 and go on a long drive, and they get to the 12, and they just can't score because Ben is bad. And, you know, never a doubt. They win by 8. They cover every which way. And not a believer in the Steelers. Still not a believer in the Vikings. They come out on a short week because you easily fade Ben as a road quarterback on a short week, and that's the end of it. Don't put too much stock into this one. Moving forward, the Vikings are going to play the Bears at the Bears. I'd be a little more worried about that than people think if Fields plays. And then Rams, Packers, Bears. I mean, they're not going to win many more games. Maybe they get to 7 if they beat the Bears twice. I don't even think they will do that. And the Steelers are just beyond bad. But you put a real quarterback on that team, and they're okay. Watt gets injured again, but they play Titans, Chiefs, Browns, Ravens. I think they probably lose all those games. Maybe they sneak one in against the Titans at home, but Titans are getting a little healthier. Julio's back this week. Sounds like Brown could be back soon, and Derrick Henry actually inching towards a return. So it wasn't all bad on Thursday, and like I said, football stays hot. So let's get into more football games. I want to break down every game on the slate like we do every Friday. And we start at the top with Vegas and Kansas City. I have been fading Vegas for a while. Kansas City is obviously inching towards getting better and better. They looked okay against Denver last week. I don't think they looked great. Their offense didn't look very good, but Denver's defense is way better than Vegas. Kansas City gets 2 home games in a row. They get back to a day game where they don't have eyes on them. And I don't like them as 10-point favorites because I have worries on both sides of the ball a little bit about them. And it's a divisional game, and Vegas has proven they can kind of score on Kansas City, or at least did a little bit. And that game was closer last time than people gave it credit for. I can't spell, but just go with it. It'll work. I trust you, Google. And so I'm not, for pool purposes, I don't think I can take the Raiders. But this game was not a 41-14 game, and I said, I don't think the Chiefs are all the way back after this game happened, and I stand by it. They're still a favorite in the AFC because it's a weak AFC. But this one got out of control late. It was pretty close. And the second half just got a little ridiculous. But I can't trust the Raiders. And so this is a fade of the Raiders more than anything. I'm not going to be betting Kansas City -10, though. I won't be shocked if they put up 50. I won't be shocked if they struggle to get it going and this game is close into the third quarter and then maybe they win by 10. But I don't feel comfortable, and I definitely don't feel comfortable taking Vegas in any capacity. They're on the list. There's a list now. These games become easier to break down. Vegas is on it. Jacksonville's on it. I think I put Baltimore on it last week. Tennessee is on it for now, but could get horses back. And there's a couple teams that are on it. We'll get to it. So this game is mostly a stay away to me, but I think I threw it, maybe, spoiler for the picks at the end, into a parlay on the money line because Kansas City's going to win. And if you take a -10, I get it. I'd rather have Kansas City -10 than Vegas +10. It's just not my favorite pick of the week. Saints-Jets is a terrible football game. And the truth is, I don't think Taysom Hill is good. He's not a quarterback. He's a gadget player with an injury that he's playing through. Maybe Simeon comes back in for this one. Former Jet. Revenge game. But either way, their offense has looked so terrible. Kamara's back. So maybe this is a reason to take the Saints. You're just fading the Jets. I get that. They're probably on most people's can't bet list. But I can't take the Saints as 5.5-point favorites on the road. I just don't think I can. And the Jets sometimes win these weird games, like against the Titans and the Bengals at home. I don't know. I can't. I don't like taking bad teams as big road favorites for more than a field goal. It's just a rule that I have. And sometimes it ends up feeling really bad when you have to take really bad teams. But I'm going to lean towards the Jets, and you couldn't pay me to bet this game at all. San Francisco Cincinnati is a more interesting one. Now, as far as I know, I think Debo practiced today. Follow at @the_link_podcast, as you can see. So it looks like he's going to be back. No Elijah Mitchell, though, which really is not good for them. And what about Joe Mixon? He looks sick. Out again. I don't know if he's going to be playing. So there's a lot up in the air about this game, which is keeping me away from the normal spread, right? Also, I don't like San Francisco in this spot only because it's the same thing. Like, if you're a road favorite, you better be way better than the team you're facing. And I think these teams are about even. I don't see why they're super different to the point where we're swinging it all the way to San Francisco being a favorite and by more than 1 point in some spots. Now, people are scared of the Burrow injury. He's got a pinky thing, and Mixon might be out. I get that. I just think San Francisco is banged up too. It sounds like Debo and Warner will be back. But now you have Elijah Mitchell there. Their secondary isn't anything to write home about. They lost to Seattle. I don't see why Cincinnati can't put up points on the San Francisco defense. So I would lean just towards the spread being wrong and taking Cincinnati just for that reason, not because I'm passing judgment on either team, just because I think they're similar, and I don't see why San Francisco is favored. And if you wait and see if Debo and Warner and Mixon are all playing and what Burrow looks like, that is probably the move. But I also think this is a really easy spot to tease Cincinnati when they're an underdog and shouldn't be, because you can get them at home at more than a touchdown on a teaser. So I love that. And I understand taking Cincinnati money line as an underdog if you want to sweeten some stuff. I can't see the value in taking San Francisco as a road team, especially if Debo plays. Is he 100%? I don't know. Without Mitchell, how's their running game going to look? They haven't found the ability to use Kittle and Debo very much at the same time. When Kittle dominated, Debo was out, and when Debo dominated, it felt like Kittle turned into a blocker. I'm not saying they can't do that. Just this year, that's how it seems to have gone. And I think this Cincinnati team is undervalued. I've backed them a couple of times. Even in that game against the Chargers that we lost on last week, and I can't believe I'm going back to the well fighting for Cincinnati. But that game was closer than it should have been. They came all the way back, and then Mixon fumbles it away, and it looks bad in the end again. I don't think Cincinnati will turn it over that many times against the San Francisco defense. Not that the Chargers defense is anything to write home about either, but I just trust Cincinnati to put on a better performance than they did last week. I backed them last week in a game that I thought both those teams were about equal, and Cincinnati was -3. And I think both these teams are about equal, and San Francisco is -1.5 on the road. I can't do that. So I got to just call out a spread for being wrong and take Cincinnati. We're just going down the list here. I know that's an afternoon game, but I'm just going to go in order because it's easier to do. Jacksonville, Tennessee. This is the biggest stay away in history. Jacksonville is squarely on my list of teams that I am not interested in backing at all. I don't want any piece of you. I just can't trust you to do anything. So that's it. I know they beat Buffalo, but, can't do it. And this over-under opened at 50 and went down to 43.5? What the hell is that about? People just... Why was it ever at 50? That has to be, like, wrong or something. I don't get it. I mean, you couldn't pay me to take Tennessee as a favorite of more than a touchdown? No way. No way. And you couldn't pay me to take Jacksonville. So, for pool purposes, I'm just fading Jacksonville because they're Jacksonville. And I haven't seen anything from them, and I think their coach is bad. Oh, bless me. But, yeah. I mean, you can't take Jacksonville. So for a pool, I'm going to back Tennessee, but I feel terrible about it. The spread is too big. And if I was trying to be sharp, I think the spread is too big. But I just have said to myself, I'm not going to take Jacksonville in any capacity, and I'm going to continue to not. Baltimore, Cleveland. I was out on Baltimore last week. Go back. Go back to Monday's show when we talked about last week's games. I thought Baltimore looked terrible. I think they've looked lost for a while. I don't think Lamar looks good. The problem is I don't really love Cleveland either. The one-arm bandit Baker Mayfield. They had a bye week, but all they've been saying is that he's not going to get healthier. The shoulder is what it is. He needs surgery in the offseason. He can just play through it with pain tolerance. So why is it going to be better? Maybe some of his other ailments get healed. That could be good. I'm not sure what to think of them. They have their running backs back. They haven't really looked great. But this is just I'm ready to fade Baltimore because the spread is up to 3 and Baltimore is so injured all over the place. And it feels like this is begging for people to take Baltimore getting 3. Now, maybe it's a spot to tease Baltimore up, and I can see the merit in that, in what should be a close game. Cleveland hasn't scored in a while. They lose to the Ravens in Baltimore, but that game is close. They didn't score here. They didn't score here. They haven't scored since the Bengals game when they scored 41. And how did that happen? Chubb runs all over the place, right? That's what they need. Ravens run defense. Ravens defense has been ravaged. But their run D is good. So, it's tough. It's tough. If I go to the X's and O's, I get the merit of Baltimore. But the eye test takes me away from them, man. They just look bad. Their offense looks bad. And I'm just giving this a stick-to-my-guns pick. Because I said I was fading Baltimore. Then they lose Marlon Humphrey in the secondary. The Browns should be able to throw the ball on them. If you can throw the ball, you can open up the run. There's a recipe here for the Browns to actually score points for the first time in a while. They need the game badly. They're coming off a bye, so they should be able to game plan and throw the kitchen sink at Baltimore. I can't back Baltimore, and the spread seems fishy in that it's trying to beg people to take them. This moved from Baltimore -1 to Cleveland -3. If you want to look at that as you should take Baltimore because that spread moved way too much, I get that. I'm just off them, so I'm sticking to my guns. Take Cleveland. Maybe they run all over the place, and Baker actually has a good game against a secondary that can't stop anybody. It seems possible, at least. Atlanta, Carolina. Now, I have the opposite reaction to this, right? Cam Newton is starting, yeah? Yep. Focused on Atlanta. Pretty simple one here. I refuse to take Cam Newton as a favorite in the NFL in 2021. I just refuse. I don't care how bad Atlanta is. They can score sometimes. Carolina is not going to score. They don't have McCaffrey. Cam's their quarterback. He has looked horrific. 55% completion, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Maybe he can run it when McCaffrey's there. I don't see him and Chuba Hubbard doing too much together in the run-pass option thing. And why am I getting them why do I have to take them as a favorite? Because they have a couple wins? Nah. I'm ready to throw record out the window. Just because they have 5 wins? Doesn't Atlanta have wins too? Big deal. Atlanta has 5 wins also. Whose offense is better? Atlanta. Whose defense is better? Carolina. Whose quarterback is better? Definitely Atlanta. Whose skill players are better? I think Atlanta has a better chance of getting their skill players involved because Cam can't throw it to DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, and McCaffrey's hurt. You have Patterson and Pitts. Russell Gage has been pretty good. I'm just fading Carolina as a favorite. It seems absolutely nonsensical to take them giving points. So I'm going to back Atlanta here. And they compete in weird games sometimes. They hung around twice for 3 quarters with the Bucs and then got their doors blown off. And Carolina, I just think, is in a tailspin. And they're so desperate to get the Cam Newton thing working, it's not going to work. Dallas and Washington feels trappy. I'm trying to stay away from this one. All things point to, like, Dallas should be able to take care of business here, right? And the number doesn't look huge. It's up to 4.5, 5 in some spots. Washington crushed them. That's not this year. When is this from? What? That didn't happen. They'd still play twice, I think, this year. They do. So we don't have any knowledge on this matchup per se. We do know that Washington is due to get beat up on defense, but we've been saying that for weeks, and they find a way to compete. Washington's offense, not that inspiring against the Raiders last week. They get the win on a late field goal, and we were happy about that. They have injuries all over the place. Dallas is finally healthier. All the X's and O's point to this being a Dallas victory. For some reason, I'm just seeing this spread as a little wonky. It's got to be more than 3, really? Because it could easily be a Dallas win by 3 in a game that's closer than it should be, and it's ugly, but Dallas pulls it out. And Washington at home, they hate Dallas. Fans will probably be there for them. What would this spread be in Dallas? Is it really 10? I don't think so. I think it's like 8. I think this might just be a little overinflated. I think there's a world where it should be Dallas minus 3. Maybe 3.5. The 4 and 4.5 and 5 scare me. I don't know why. It just feels trappy. Dak hasn't looked that good lately. Not to me, anyway. Maybe his numbers look good, because he's had some garbage time comeback stuff. 1 touchdown, 1 pick against the Saints. He looked good in this game against Vegas. But they lose. And a lot of this was them playing from behind, having to rip it downfield on Thanksgiving. So this is a little fraudulent, even though he looked okay. Looks terrible against Kansas City. Didn't have his receivers, but he looked bad. Atlanta, he carved up. Denver, he didn't look great. New England, he carved up. That's a weird one. That was a big game for them. He looked great early in the year. I just have seen a little bit of cracks in it as we've gone along. And I don't know. There's something holding me back from putting this into my picks. So gut feeling, I'm not going to go with Dallas here. For pool purposes, I get you want to be on either side. I'm going to take Washington just because I think the spread is a little big. I think it should be 3. And I could see a 4-point win for Dallas where they control throughout. And, you know, they're up 11 or something. Or they're up 10 and everything feels good. And then Washington touchdown and they miss an extra point or something. It ends up 4. I don't know. I just feel like this game's going to be closer than people are giving it credit for. And something uncomfortable for me. Detroit and Denver. Now, sounds like Hawkinson's not going to play. Detroit gets their win. Absent Friday, doubtful. Swift ruled out. Detroit gets their win. It seems like a clear letdown spot. I'm trying not to overthink it. I don't know if Denver deserves to be 10-point favorites against anybody, but when Detroit is already bad offensively and has 2 of their best offensive players not playing, they're only good 2 offensive players if you ask me, not playing. Denver defense is really good. Denver offense should be better than it is. I just see this one getting out of control early, and all of a sudden Denver's up by 30, and you're like, yeah, well, this is what happens. So I can't back the Lions here, which seems like a bad spot. Against a really good defense, going into Mile High, going on the road. Who knows how their coach, who was one of the worst in the league, probably comes off of a win. I'm sure he'll be trying to motivate the boys, but this seems like a really bad time for them. And not a good matchup at all, because the Denver corners are going to eat Detroit alive. They're not going to be able to throw the football. And without Swift, is Jamal Williams going to run all over Denver? And Denver is going to run all over Detroit. And that'll open up play action for Teddy. He doesn't have to do a whole lot, but he has the receivers and tight ends to do so. They can line up in big formations and just run for days. And I just think this gets away. It might be long drives for Denver, so maybe they only end up with like 28, 31 points. But it definitely could be like a 28-10 for sure, with no problem. That doesn't ever feel like Denver had to do anything to dominate. So I'll back Denver. Giants-Chargers. This is a game where Daniel Jones is not going to play. They keep saying he might play again this season. I'm like, okay, that's not inspiring a ton of confidence. Refutes as to whether there's structural damage in his neck. It's not good. It's really not good. But they are getting some people back, I think. Shepard might play. Tony returns. Galladay returns. They have some people playing, but is Mike Glennon going to play? Full participant. So Mike Glennon is probably going to start. Galladay's limited. Adoree Jackson not playing. Tony limited ruled out, though? Because this is an important game to me. He returned to practice. Game time decision. So we'll have to tune back in on Sunday to figure that one out. This is not correct that he's out. Saquon Barkley's going to play. Shepard questionable. Shelton questionable. Now the Chargers have a COVID issue. It sounds like Keenan Allen will not play. But Mike Williams should play. And Chris Harris should play. So they're getting away from the COVID thing without too much. But they lose Keenan Allen. I can't... Look, I don't want to lay 10 with the Chargers because I don't think they're worthy of being 10-point favorites against anybody. But I can't back Mike Glennon in an NFL game. It's really ugly. And Saquon Barkley could run on the Chargers for sure. So I'm treating the Chargers as either a teaser option or a money line option as a sweetener. I think they'll win the game. They better. It would be really bad if they lost to Mike Glennon at home. But something scares me about taking this -10 and feels like it could be a letdown spot for the Chargers, considering people are seeing a big win against Cincinnati, but I think they had flaws in that game and tried to blow it. Giants are getting a little healthier. Might be talking myself into Giants +10 on a pool, but it's like Jacksonville. I'm going to go back to taking the Chargers every which way I can. I'm not going to bet them at -10, but I like them as a sweetener in parlays and teasers and stuff because same with Jacksonville. Like, do I want to take Tennessee -9.5? No. Do I want to take the Chargers -10? No. But I'm committed to fading these other teams. And the Giants only because I think Glennon's really bad and I don't see how their offense moves the football at all. Unless Barkley breaks 2 60-yard touchdown runs, which he could against this defense. I'm starting him in fantasy, and I like him as a daily play. But I can't take Mike Glennon. I just can't. Mike Williams probably unlocks a big day. They'll figure out some of their speedy receivers. They'll use Jared Cook a little more over the middle. Eckler will have a huge day. This is a running backs game, so it might be a little more low-scoring than you think. And I think the Chargers win it. And I'm just a little nervous about taking them -10. I mean, this went from -7 to -10 on the advanced line. What? Because what? Because the Chargers beat Cincinnati and tried to give it away? And because Daniel Jones still isn't playing, but he wasn't playing last week anyway? And this Giants defense is a little frisky. So if you want Giants +10, I actually get that. But I think the Chargers definitely win the game. The spread is just a little wide. If it was Chargers -7, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. I think there's a realistic chance that the Chargers win this game by 7, 8, or 10. And that's why I don't really love taking them at -10. But I will have them in my picks to win the game, that's for sure. Buffalo, Tampa. Now, Tom Brady owns Buffalo. Can we talk about that? They have to have this on Football Reference. He crushes Buffalo. It's the same thing I said about him crushing Indy. And they go on to win that game. And we won on that pick. And you look at Split's career versus Buffalo. 32-3. I know that the Pats were better than the Bills for all those years. But come on. 32-3. What the hell? That's unrealistic numbers. Doesn't even make any sense. How can you back the Bills here? And after seeing what I've seen from the Bills, which they look like a team that can beat bad teams and lose to good teams. That's what I see from them. I'm not getting blinded by what last year's team may have been. Who have they beaten? The Dolphins, they crushed when the Dolphins were reeling and injured. They beat Washington. They beat Houston. They did beat the Chiefs. That's a good win. I'll give you that. They lose to the Titans. They beat the Dolphins. They lose to the Jaguars. They beat the Jets. They lose to the Colts. They beat the Saints. They lose to the Pats. This is just a back and forth of either losing to bad teams or losing to good teams and beating bad teams. The Bucs are really good at home. The Bucs are going to score. Tre'Davious White being out of this game kills Buffalo, I think. Because they're already not physical. Tampa is very physical. The Bills don't have the skill players to match up with Tampa offensively. They definitely don't. They won't be able to run the ball on Tampa at all. Tre'Davious White being out means you have to shift up everyone to try to guard Godwin and Evans and Gronk. Probably not going to happen. I think Tampa can really run the football on Buffalo, and when they can run it, then they can really throw it. And this offense is going to score a lot in this game. I think the spread is actually wrong. I think they are definitely better than Buffalo as a team. The only reason this spread is the way it is, which is the devil's advocate. There he is. And he's saying, but the Tampa secondary is so terrible. That's how the devil sounds. And I get it. They are. Getting Richard Sherman back, apparently. We'll see if he plays, but he's been cleared. And Buffalo can probably throw the ball on them because Carson Wentz could do it. And so I acknowledge that. I like the over in this game, although the price is really inflated. It's at 53.5 now, but I still think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one, especially fourth quarter, back and forth kind of stuff. But I think Tampa has more options offensively. They can run it. They have more weapons. They have the better quarterback by a mile. They have the better defense, especially factoring in Buffalo's injury in the secondary. Tampa front seven. Buffalo's front seven is good. Tampa's front seven is better. And since the running game for Buffalo is so bad, I think Tampa absolutely stifles them there, forces them into easy throwing downs where they can figure out how many people to drop back. And they'll get enough stops on Josh Allen turning the ball over or making an errant throw that Tampa probably won't have offensively. And so eventually I think this becomes like a 41-28 where like both teams are scoring, or 41-31 or like something like that. But Tampa wins it because they can't be stopped. And Buffalo misstepped a couple of the ways and had a few more hurdles than were apparent. So I love Tampa. I really like them on the money line to win the game. I think the odds are easy for that. They're like minus 170 or something. But I'm comfortable with them minus 3 too, because I think this should be minus 4, something like that. And it's just residual respect for Buffalo from last year. But I think they're a flawed team. They can't run the ball. They only have one good receiver. Diggs should break free and score 2 touchdowns. I've said that about them a bunch of times this year, and then he does, and they lose, and people are like, oh, okay. Because they don't have much else. Tampa has so many different things you have to think about. And Tampa's getting healthier than Buffalo is right now. The White injury really didn't bite them against the Pats because it was a million-mile-an-hour wins, and Mac Jones threw it 3 times. They still lost. And it's going to bite them this week. I think you're going to see it. You're going to see that secondary not be as strong as it was before. And against Tampa, you really don't want that. And Tampa's secondary is bad. I've been wanting to find a way to fade them, but I think they're better than Buffalo. So I'm going to take Tampa there, and we'll tune back into that when the picks roll around. Chicago, Green Bay. Look, this spread is huge. It should be huge. I don't have a real lean for it. Rodgers owns Chicago. Is Fields playing in this one? I think he is. He is. Is David Bakhtiari playing in this one? Doesn't expect to return. Yeah, I mean, Rodgers, you still are wondering, like, when is the toe injury going to hurt him? It hasn't, and Chicago defense isn't going to strike too much fear into him, and he's at home. He hasn't been practicing, which is probably a good thing because he's managing his pain tolerance, and he's been able to get out there and shred every week. They still have to deal with Adams. They still have both running backs there. Their defense is awesome. There's no reason to fade Green Bay. They've printed money every week, so I'll continue to take Green Bay. I believe in them. I'll lay as many points as I need to. If this was more than 14, I wouldn't like it. I'm tempted to take Chicago. It's a lot of points, but it won't shock me if Green Bay just blows their doors off. And again, it's just hard to take Chicago right now. They haven't looked like a serious team. And Green Bay's defense can really... They're a Super Bowl contender that people don't talk about enough. It's like, I guess they do, but people still talk about the Rams. It's like, Green Bay's way better than the Rams. What the hell have people been watching? It's Green Bay and Tampa and Arizona. The NFC's stacked. It is. But Green Bay's right up there. And Chicago is just, it looks like their season's over. This feels like the one where they get blown out and finally fire Matt Nagy. It has to be, right? We have to talk about that on Monday. Matt Nagy, you're getting the axe after this one. Unless you pull out something crazy. I just don't see it. So I'll back Green Bay. I'm not putting them in any picks or parlays or anything. Just, well, maybe on money line as a sweetener or something, or teaser. I can get on board with that. But at 12.5, it's just too many things can go wrong there. Rams, Arizona on Monday. As always, we will talk about that one more on Monday during the day, and we'll preview that. But I like Arizona. I haven't liked what I've seen from the Rams at all. At all. I still don't think they can run the ball. I don't believe in the Sony Michel thing from last week. They have trouble running it. Kupp is the only threat out there. Van Jefferson's a nice player, and Odell is good, but they're 2s and 3s. They just are normal 2s and 3s to me. Kupp is a problem, but I think Arizona has a really good secondary. They match up really well with the Rams. They beat them already. Arizona is as well-rounded on offense as any team is in the NFL and has been for a while. And yet they're not even -3 at home against a team that they already beat on the road. And you're like, come on. At what point is Arizona going to get respect? So I think this is the game, even if you're a detractor from Arizona, this is the game where you back Arizona, you say it should be 3, it maybe should be more. You take them, they dominate, they win on Monday night, and then maybe they let you down. I can see a letdown coming eventually. But for the last 2 years, this Arizona team has been awesome with Kyler and Hopkins on the field healthy. They only went through a tough period last year when they got banged up and tried to play through it. So this year, they don't try to play through it. They get them healthy. Now they're back. Isn't this exactly where you want to back Arizona? Where you don't have to give too many points. They're at home. They're facing a team that they've beaten already. I don't know. The Rams can win any given game, but why isn't the spread 3? If I can get Arizona at 2, I'll probably end up taking that on Monday. I generally don't throw Monday's picks onto these Friday streams just because it's a different week, and I like to separate it out, and I like to be able to talk about it on Monday. So we'll get more into the weeds on that one on the other side of the weekend, but can't really talk myself into taking the Rams there. I can't really find a reason to do so. Kupp is the reason, but Arizona's secondary I really like, so time to start giving respect to the Cardinals, I guess. And that's all the games. And we already hit on Thursday, and I'm feeling a pretty good week. So let's get into it. Let's break down the picks that we took for this week, week 14. Like I said, 6-pack. Okay? 3 teaser parlays, 3 straight bets. First, we're going with an easy peasy lemon lime cash parlay. This one couldn't be easier. It's so simple. Seahawks money line at the Texans. Seahawks need the game. Russell Wilson got going last week. They won one. They saw it go through the hoop. It's like a free throw shooter that finds one, and then all of a sudden all his threes go in. We're taking the Seahawks. You got to fade the Texans at all time. They're on the Jaguars list. That's what we're naming it. They deserve it. Namesakes. Parlay that with the Broncos money line home against the Lions. We talked about that. No Hawkinson, no Swift. Broncos should take care of business. Good matchup. And the Chargers money line home against the Giants, which is the diciest of the 3, but if Mike Glennon beats me, so be it. So Seahawks, Broncos, Chargers money line gets you minus 115. They're all huge favorites that should take care of business with ease. So that's one. Speaking of ease, the easy peasy mush is cheesy parlay. That's me after I hit this one. We're double dipping on the Seahawks because I think Russell is just going to rip them apart, and people are like, oh yeah, well, this is Davis Mills versus Russell Wilson. What are we talking about here? Then I'm taking the Chiefs money line home against the Raiders. No Darren Waller. He's out again. Raiders are reeling. They didn't show it last week, but they lose to Washington. Couldn't move the football, and I think they're due to just get blown out again. And then the Packers money line home against the Bears. So this is a different version. Both those parlays are just trying to find combos of the big teams with big spreads that can combine to not be so bad. So Seahawks, Chiefs, Packers, minus 125. It's fine. Those 3-team parlays I'm good with. Let's get a little crazier. Haven't done this on the show. 10-team teaser. I don't do it very much because it's hard to win 4 games, and the odds are only minus 130. But this one I really like. I wanted to throw the Browns in some capacity, so we get them here at plus 7.5. Shifting all the way the other side. If they lose, I can't imagine the Ravens are going to blow them up. So I'm taking Browns plus 7.5 against the Ravens. Chargers down to the money line against the Giants. That's a double dip on them. Bengals plus 11.5 home against the Niners. Like I said, they're an underdog, so we're teasing them all the way up. If they lose, which I think they can win, I'm comfortable. The only reason I'm not taking Bengals money line this week is because it seems like Warner and Debo are coming back. Otherwise, that would have been in my picks. It's not. But I will take them on the teaser at plus 11.5. And then I'm teasing the Packers all the way down to 2.5 home against the Bears. So that's a 10-point teaser. Browns, Chargers, Bengals, Packers pays out minus 130. The rest of them are straight up. Falcons plus 3 at home against the Panthers. I'm buying half a point. It was at 2.5. You can get that sometimes minus 120, minus 130. Depends where the line is. I wanted to get it before it moves because I want to get the plus 3. I also could be talked into Falcons money line. This is just fading Cam at home. And if the Falcons do find a way to blow the game, if they're up 14 and then all of a sudden they come back, Panthers score a touchdown, they go for 2 and win by 1, I'm still good with the plus 3. I could see that happening. So Falcons plus 3 at the Panthers, fading Cam Newton, minus 125. Browns money line home against the Ravens. We talked it to death. I told myself I was going to fade the Ravens in some capacity, and this is it. Unfortunately, I need the one-armed bandit Baker Mayfield to really get going for me, but I think his lower body injuries are probably healed up over the bye, and the shoulder is what it is. And the Ravens are so banged up, more so than the Browns. So I'm taking the Browns money line. That one's minus 145. I don't want to lay the points, but I'll take them to win. And then, of course, Bucks money line against the Bills. This is a bigger one. I'm all in on this. Minus 175. I think they can win the game big, and I think if they don't, in a 2-minute drill, I trust Tom Brady over Josh Allen in a big way, in either direction. Bucks money line minus 175. So again, 6 picks. The parlay of Seahawks, Broncos, Chargers minus 115. The parlay of Seahawks, Chiefs, Packers minus 125. The 10-point teaser, Browns, Chargers, Bengals, Packers, and then straight up Falcons plus 3, Browns money line, Bucks money line. That's how we do it. Week 14. It's not going to be bad. It's not going to be bad. It's not going to be bad. We're going to hit. We're due for another big one. We're going to sweep it up. I hope I see you on Monday with the brooms. Stay tuned for any schedule changes we're doing on the Mike the Mush Show at Mike Mush Sports on Twitter and Instagram. Follow on Twitch. Subscribe on YouTube. Give me some likes. Send some comments. Trying to grow the thing. Do your part if you can. I appreciate you for watching. Follow at @the_link_podcast for all non-sports stuff. If you want to hear me spiel even more. Sometimes we have guests on that one. Sometimes we're going to have guests on this one eventually too. We haven't gotten there quite yet. Still setting it all up, feeling it out. And I appreciate you for being here. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on the other side. Peace out.